So this is a replacement video for the one I originally made for modeling the Clevis. The reason I'm having to do this is because I discovered that I made an assumption of a certain setting that you had during one part of the creation of that part. So I need to remake this video so that you don't hit that place and go, sorry, my computer won't do that. So what we're going to look at right here is we're going to be modeling the Clevis. And one of the things I want to point out about this part is that my general approach will be I'm going to create the lower half down here first by making a sketch of a rectangle on the top surface and then extruding it downward, negative rather than upward. Once I get that rectangular prism, that sort of cube-like object down below, I'm actually going to fillet these two edges first. You don't have to do it in this sequence, and in fact, there are reasons why it might be better to do it in a different sequence, but I'm doing it in this order because it forces me to show you some techniques in Fusion 360 that could be useful to you later on. So yeah, I'm going to extrude that down. I'm going to fillet those two bottom edges. Then I'm going to make a cutout from the bottom upward, actually, to make this little opening here from the bottom up. After that, I'm going to place this hole in here. And in fact, I'm required to make the cutout before I can do the hole because you can see it's dimensioned from this inner top surface, which wouldn't exist until after I've done the cutout. So I'll make the hole here after I've done the cutout. After I've done that hole, then I will fillet the inner and outer edges of that cutout so that we get these bends around in here. When I'm done with that portion, the lower half will be completed. Then I'll merely draw a circle on the top and extrude it upward 2 inches, a circle of diameter 0.5 to create that. Lastly, I will make it blue smooth powder coat appearance and then save it as Clevis. Or actually, you know what I'm going to do first is, what I would recommend you do first is when you open your new design, go ahead and click Save right away and give it the name. And then be sure that you're saving it in the proper folder. For instance, I want to do Learning Assemblies. I already have it here, Clevis, but that's what you would do. You'd choose your Learning Assemblies folder, and then you would click Save. If you do that, it will change this name over here in the top left in your browser area. It's going to change that to say Clevis. But that way you know from the very beginning if you get interrupted or whatever, as long as you click Save, it's going to save it in the right place with the right name. So that's very useful. Anyway, so start by saving it. I'm not going to because I don't need to save it because I've drawn this 100 times. So next thing, we're going to start a sketch. We're going to do it on the top plane. It will be a center rectangle. And the dimensions for this, remember what we're doing here, let me go to here, is we're trying to make it as viewed from here. So left to right here is this dimension, 2.3125. And this dimension up this way is the dimension this way on this thing. Basically, we're looking down from the top. So the dimension across here, which is 1.5. So 2.3125 by 1.5. So here we go, 2.3125 tab 1.5, enter. Now, I want to remind you, I did that all at once as a workflow thing because it's a little quicker to type in your dimensions while you're creating the sketch. However, I can show you this. Let me Control Z and let me show you. Could have done it merely by, first you draw your rectangle and you just click twice. You click the center and click the corner. Then you can go back and smart dimension it this way to 2.3125. Hit enter, and then you can dimension it this way as 1.5, enter. Either one works as long as you end up with a center rectangle whose center is on the origin from the top plane with a width of 2.3125 and a height of 1.5. I'll point out this says 2.313. It's still 2.3125. If you hover over it, it actually shows you the full value. It just rounds it off for the sake of the screen. We're going to finish that sketch. Next, we're going to extrude that. We want to extrude it 2 inches, but remember I said I wanted to extrude it downward from the plane. This is extruding up from the sketch. So the way you'll fix that is you'll just put this as -2 and extrudes it downward from the top plane. Since this is our first extrusion, new body is the appropriate operation. Click OK. Next, I'm going to do fillets. Again, you could do this in a different order, but this is the order I'm doing it for you so that you can practice certain techniques. We're going to fillet this long edge here and the long edge on the back side that matches it down at the bottom edge there. Those fillets are 0.5 right there. So 0.5, hit enter. I'm going to click the home button just to have a quick look at that. So that's what it looks like right now. Now again, this next part you could do a different way, but I'm going to ask you to do this. We're going to actually make the sketch on the bottom of this part. So I've got to flip the part over a little bit by clicking and dragging on my view cube. On this surface right here is where I'm going to put my sketch. I want to do a center rectangle. Now I'm going to show you something. Don't do this right now. Just wait. I'm going to show you this right now, that my settings allow me to do something that yours probably won't. But mine don't always do it. And so I'm going to show you how to make this possible if your settings don't automatically do this thing. So here's what, and again, don't do this, just watch. For me, with my settings, I can choose the center rectangle, click the origin, and then when I move up this way, I get that little blue X there at my top right here where my cursor is. That tells me the computer is recognizing that that top edge of this part exists behind the sketch, and it's actually projecting it onto my sketch. It's auto-projecting a surface onto my sketch. Yours probably doesn't. So you can't get that little blue X. You could guess, oh, I'm kind of right about here somewhere, and you're likely to miss. You're either overshoot or undershoot if you're just guessing. If you don't get that blue X, it's not really snapping to that edge. So because yours probably doesn't do that, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to escape instead, and I'm going to show you how to add that geometry to this sketch. Under Create menu, so this is what I do want you to do. Under the Create menu, you come down, there's something called Project Include. And what we want to do, as I said, is project that surface's geometry into the existing sketch. So project is what we want. And now we need to select the surface that we want to project. In order to do that, I'm going to have to rotate this part using the view cube up here in the top right. And I want to project that surface onto this sketch, which is in this plane. And you'll notice that when I hover over this surface, I get a preview of that red line right there. That is always going to be oriented as if you took this plane and you projected it onto the plane of our sketch. That red line is where that is. So that is the one we want. I'm going to select that by clicking. You'll notice the line turned purple. And now I'll say OK. And now that purple line is part of this sketch. I can go back and click on the bottom view again. And now I'm looking at the sketch as I was before. And now, if you do center rectangle, from the center up to that purple line, you'll get that blue X now. Because now instead of snapping onto the surface as projected by the computer, it's snapping onto the line you projected onto the sketch. So being able to access geometry that is not in your sketch, you do that by projecting or intersecting, in this case projecting, onto the sketch, which is what we did. So now I can click here, and now that point coincides with the upper edge of this drawing, of this part as viewed from this angle. Only thing left to do here is dimension this way. Now that dimension, and let me click on that. Why is it not clicking? Click. There we go. I can click again. I need to type in that number. Let's find out what that number is. Well, it's the width of this cut here. It's 1.8125. So let's go to here and type in 1.8125. Hit enter. Notice it's all black and fully defined. I'm going to finish the sketch. And just for grins, I'm going to click home. So you can see, yeah, it's that sketch that's on the bottom there. One thing I'm going to point out about this sketch that becomes important next is that it actually divides it into 1, 2, 3 profiles, because this edge really was part of the sketch. It's a surface that the thing recognizes, and the perimeter that we drew is another a geometry, so it's going to divide it into these three sections. But we actually want to cut all three. So now we're going to extrude this profile, and this profile. We're going to do a cut. And now here's the next thing I want to show you. Let's take a look at our drawing. In our drawing, what we see is that it doesn't tell us how far to cut up from the bottom. It tells us from the bottom to this top area here, from down here to up here, is 2 inches. But it tells us the cut is 0.25 down from that place. Now, it is true, you could, because you're not stupid, go 2 inches minus 0.25 is 1.75. But that's not what the design intent is. The design intent is this number doesn't matter for this cut. Only this one does. So what we want to do is only use this number, 0.25. The way you achieve that in Fusion 360 is you go to your extent type, not your start, but your extent type. I had a lot of people change this start thing. Don't change the start thing. Leave that alone. You want to change your extent type. Change your extent type to to object. Then choose this top surface. Now, once you click that, you're going to get a preview. And at this point, it's cutting through all. It's cutting from the sketch to that top surface. Well, that's further than you want. But here's the cool thing about to object, is it changes your dialog box over here on the right to give you what's called an offset. And if we do the offset, we say, let's go to that object, but not quite, minus 0.25. That makes it stop 0.25 before it hits the surface. And as you can see, that reflects design intent. We did not have to calculate 1.75. We want to cut almost to that surface, but offset by 0.25, which is the value given here. So that preview is what I want. I'll say OK. And as you can see, it cuts that part exactly as I wanted. The next thing we want to do is we want to put this hole in. And the reason I had to wait on that hole is I needed this inner surface there to refer to. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a sketch on this surface. Now, again, your settings might allow you to refer to that inner edge there, but they might not. And in case they don't, we need to project that surface into our sketch on this surface. So we do that by going to Create, Project Include, Project, just like we did before. Choose that surface, and we see the purple line, and we say OK. And now we can return to our right view, and now we have that geometry in this sketch. And that geometry will move if we go back into our part and dimension anything. That surface will always be projected to the proper place onto this plane. The next thing we're doing, since we're making a hole, as you know, good engineers don't actually draw a hole, they make a point. I'm going to put it approximately where it belongs. Now, looking at the drawing, it doesn't tell us that this hole is right in the middle, left to right, but it sure looks like it is. So we're going to use a constraint. And the constraint we're going to do is horizontal vertical. This point we want vertical from that origin, and that will constrain it to be stuck in the middle here, up and down. Now the only thing left to do is dimension it from this edge to that point. Oops, I didn't do that right. Control Z. Let's do it again. Sketch dimension from that edge to this point and over here, and that dimension is 1.25 if memory serves. Let me check here. Yeah, 1.25. So I hit enter. That sketch is now complete. I can finish that sketch. Got that point right there where it belongs. Now I'm going to do the whole feature. Yeah, I'm going to choose from sketch as I always do. I'm going to click that point. The distance this time, this is very important, changes to through all, and lo and behold, it'll cut through both parts. It will cut through air until it hits some more material. It'll keep doing it. This piece had multiple little tabs. It'll cut through everything, through all. That's what we want. In this case, it is a simple hole, so we can leave this simple, and the diameter is 0.5, so make sure this changes to 0.5 if yours is some other number. So, multiple holes, choose the point, change this through all. The whole type needs to be simple, and you say OK. Next, we're going to do a fillet. These fillets are this edge. Let me roll it around this way. This edge here, and this edge in here. So those 4 fillets, and we're going to make them 0.5. So I type 0.5 in. It looks right. I say OK. I click Home. Next, I'm going to make another sketch on the top here of a simple circle, because I'm just going to make a little rod sticking up. That's also 0.5 in diameter. You can consult the drawing if you want to be convinced of that. I'm going to finish that sketch. Then I'm going to extrude it, this 2 inches, and I say OK. If I click Home, you can see it looks right. Now, one last thing we need to do. If you check your drawing, it says it's supposed to be blue smooth powder coat. So as we've done before, you'll go to Modify, Appearance. You'll need to download the blue smooth powder coat by clicking the down arrow. Once it's downloaded, you can drag it up to here to the design, and then over here to the part, and click Close. One last thing, click Save before you're done and agree to the pop-up that comes up, and you are done with that part. Thank you for your attention.